Te reo ererangi o Te Mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Today, the oceans hold their breath as we journey into Ringlet and the Day the Oceans Stop, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press in 2019. Join Libby as waves of mystery, courage and wonder sweep us into an unforgettable adventure. I guess the race is going to begin, said Ringlet, keen to talk out loud rather than have her thoughts stolen. So shouldn't we be making our way to the starting position? Whatever are you talking about? Laughed Platita. Didn't you hear that delightful giggling? The mermaid race has been and gone. Several times, in fact. You can't spend all day doing your hair, you know. But in the face of such disappointment, I have created a special event just for you. Ringlet stared at Platita. Thank you. That's very, thoughtful. By yourself, against yourself, and for yourself. The plaits shot upwards and then flew out to dangle down behind her. She sighed. The things I have had to do while you were preening yourself at the salon. How can it be a race? Ringlet was confused. If there's no one else in it. Platita laughed. Too many questions and so little time. The crab leapt up and ran down Platita's outstretched arm. The toothpick leg leaving a row of tiny red-dotted pinpricks as it travelled. Platita, 6 of the 7 stellar mermaids, wishes to announce that it is a 60 seconds to start time. 60 seconds, repeated the crabs. Off you go then, cried Platita. Make the most of this chance of a lifetime. Chance of a lifetime, chorused the crabs. That's the last we'll see of you, Platita added under her breath. Ringlet didn't hear. She felt herself being pushed towards Lumpy Custard. Chignon, however, did hear. Hang on. Excuse me, madame, but what did you mean by that's the last? She'll be back in no time. Won't she? The track's only 2 sluices long. Mermaids get tired of sitting longer. Last year, when it was 3 sluices, well, they all conked out and had to be The water darkened. Chignon looked up to see Platita floating above her, blocking the light from the upwards. Listening to things that do not concern us. A single droplet of blue spit was torpedoing towards Chignon. Her last words came out in a high-pressured gabble. I always listen to you, madame. You know I do. Absolutely everything, all the time, every single word you say. And after all, you told me yourself that one single drop of your blue spit in your love is worth 100 of anyone else's dribble. At the last minute, the spit veered to the left, missing her, hitting instead a small fish. The fish exploded into a hiss of Prussian blue froth. Very well then, apology accepted. Let's just say, dear Chignon, that this is one journey, the length of which is indeterminated. Chignon was not sure what the word indeterminated meant. She hoped it meant home in no time. Light-headed and out of breath, she decided it did. "That's good then, madame," she added. "Happy to explain anything, any time, dear." Platita smacked her tail in Ringlet's direction. Ringlet felt herself lifted onto the curved back of the sea goat. "Now, how's that fit? Not too tight, not too loose." "Not a single ribbon," thought Ringlet. "Anywhere, and Isky's dozing again." A saggy pannier bag hung across the back of the sea goat. Ringlet tucked Isky into it. She did up the strap so that only the tip of his nose was poking out. "Crabs, take your position. Let me reassure you, sweetie Pie-Winks. He won't feel any pain. This is merely a little motivational tool that comes in handy. Bon voyage now." The crabs raised their cutlery into the air. The serrated edges were poised like daggers above the animal's scrappy-looking tail. The sea goat turned his head and looked at Ringlet. A tiny light, far back in his eyes, flickered. Before the crab's sharp cutlery could reach the sea goat's backside, she flung her arms around his neck, slapped her tail fin hard against his bony ribs, and yelled, "Giddy up! Go! Scram!" The last thing Ringlet heard as she and Lumpy Custard swam out into the current was the sound of Platita's crabs, hundreds of them clanging the cutlery together. Ringlet had no idea where the goat was headed. But in no time, all the busyness of Pearl Promenade was replaced by a large pond of marshy water. A stilly pond, like that mere boy told me. Wonder where he is now. Before she could stop him, Lumpy Custard sloshed into the pond. But within minutes, he had dropped to such a slow pace that they were scarcely moving. "Oh no, Lumpy," she said. "The last thing we need is a meditative experience." The goat sagged, stopped, and despite all of Ringlet's pattings and persuadings, he would not, could not, start again. They were in the middle of a stagnant pond, in the middle of, I don't know where, stranded. Once he starts, he can't stop, and once he stops, he can't start. "Please!" The goat turned to look at Ringlet. The tiny light at the back of his eyes flickered again. She stroked his ear. He poked out his tongue and licked his lips. "You want something to eat, don't you?" Ringlet looked around. In front of them, beyond the silly pond, was a flurry of conflicting currents, leading in various directions. A sea's about. She slipped off the goat's back. "We're going to play a swapsies, and if you promise not to wiggle, I promise not to drift off into La La Land. Because I can see a building on the other side, and there might be someone who can help." She flexed her muscles and heaved. It wasn't as hard as she thought, carrying the goat, despite his boniness. What was hard was that La La Land was calling. "Come with me," it crooned, in a sweet but forceful voice. "Come with me." "No way," replied Ringlet, without much conviction. She kept sloshing forwards. Then she stopped. "Come with me. Maybe I will." She leaned backwards. It felt pleasant. Above her, she could see fish circling, watching. "Rehearsing for Strong Girl Actor Mermaid Diva next week, are we?" inquired a small school of plankton in unison. "Not quite up to it, are you?" Ringlet jolted back. "I'm simply helping a friend out. she said crossly. She sloshed some more. If I keep talking, and if they keep talking. What are you about to do? She called. What's your act?
Synchronized sound and light show,
replied the plankton, grateful for the interest.
We've been practicing for weeks.
Tell me about it, said Ringlet, continuing to make progress. She passed the halfway point, and although La La Land was hovering, she could tell it did not like group conversations.
Well, there's the cane, the sidefish tail, the ballet leg double, and the knight.
The plankton rattled off the list.
The stack lift and the egg beater.
Keep talking, said Ringlet. It's interesting.
The flamingo, that's a work in progress. Be easier if we had legs.
Never mind, said Ringlet. Nearly there.
Perhaps a short demonstration,
said the plankton. They began to assemble themselves, not noticing that their audience was leaving. With one arm wrapped around the sea goat's tail and the other grasping his horns, Ringlet and Lumpy Custard, with Isky buried in the pannier, exited the silly pond and plunged into the seas about. The currents whirled around and around. I hope you win. Keep practicing, cried Ringlet, before tossing her and Lumpy Custard out towards a huge floating hull. They landed in a heap. Beside it, peering underneath the hull, Ringlet saw a giant sea field with dozens of hooks hanging around it, a sign on the gate to the field that read, Escape the Angler. Last day. Special offer. 2 games for the price of 1. However, despite the special offer, and unlike all the other fairground games which had long queues of merfolk waiting to play, Escape the Angler was deserted, almost deserted. From where Ringlet was floating, she could see one large lanternfish playing. A mousefish popped her head up from a ticket booth that led into the field.
Want to play?
Squeaked the mousefish.
Because that sea goat of yours needs a meal.
Lumpy Custard was lying in the same place he had landed.
She bets,
inquired the mousefish. What? Said Ringlet.
Sea goat lingo for turnips. Did you know?
Turnips? Yuck!
Not yuck of your sea goat. Look, he's licking his lips. Play this game. You could win a feast of turnips for this bag of bones. What do you say, Merle? Are you brave enough?
Why brave? Said Ringlet. It can't be that hard. The mousefish gave a derisive squeak.
Let me explain the rules,
she continued,
and leave you to make an informed decision. Each of those fish hooks has a tasty morsel attached. Worms, especially the gourmet varieties, are by far the most popular option. But there are turnips for the vegetarians. Choose the right hook, you get a free meal. Couldn't be easier.
And what if I choose the wrong hook?
A sensible question,
replied the mousefish. She leaned forwards.
Make a mistake and you get flicked. Up there.
She twitched her nose towards the timber hull. Where's up there?
I refer to the upwards. Most unpleasant. You'll be dried up and dead before you know it.
I'm good at games, but this one is new, said Ringlet. I'm headed back to the Cuplands, so I don't have much time to spare. On the other hand, I'm not going to get there at all if Lumpy Custard collapses due to a carbohydrate deficiency. My merdog needs food as well. He keeps falling asleep.
A merdog? Yikes! I don't like dogs.
The mashfish thunked an iron grill down and peered through the railings.
Oh, That dog's not hungry or sleeping.
She thunked the grill again.
He's got the flops. That's what he's got. There's a bit of that going round.
Ringlet looked at Esky, shrugged helplessly, and turned to watch the lanternfish. It was moving clumsily along a heap of fishing lines that hung down from the wooden hull. It paused before each hook, as if trying to decide which gourmet worm it fancied. Ringlet was about to say, "Nothing too hard about that," when there was a loud whoosh, a giant flourish, followed by a small ripple, then calm. Both Ringlet and the mousefish were silent as they gazed at an empty field.
Oops,
Squeaked the mousefish.
poor Uncle Albert. Fancy not recognizing that fish hook. Nonetheless, you look like a smart Merly. I'll keep an eye on Floppy for you.
His name's Esky, and what do you call this game? Ringlet was shocked. No wonder you've got no customers.
The goat's starving. He'd play if he could. But he's not even going to make it through the gates. He's about to catch the final current, if you get my drift.
The mousefish sniffed a couple times, turning her nose from side to side.
I can smell it approaching now. So, what sort of friend are you if you won't even catch him a couple of turnips?
Ringlet couldn't smell a thing, but she swam down to take a look. The food was cunningly made to look as if it was sitting loosely on a hook, but closer inspection revealed a sharp barb right through it. No wonder no one succeeded.
Hey, miss, nearly forgot. What's your name and where are you from?
The mousefish popped down and then up again from the booth with a clipboard.
For our records, in case I need to inform next of kin,
she squeaked. I'm Ringlet. Ringlet from the Kelplands.
Where's that?
Asked the mousefish. Dunno, said Ringlet. Wish I did.
Well, never mind,
said the mousefish.
Pretty name matches your hairdo.
She scribbled furiously. Didn't match my hairdo yesterday, said Ringlet. Yesterday I was tangled. Now there's an idea. Tangled.
You're good to go,
said the mousefish.
And here's your complimentary carry bag. Good luck.
Ringlet entered the field of fish hooks. Edging between the lines, she fiddled and twisted them around each one. Once or twice, la poof, jostled a line. And the line would snap upwards out of sight, then tumble back down again with an even bigger and juicier snack on it. She'd opened the carry bag. Starting at the outer corners of the line, she began to extract the turnips from the hooks. As she did so, a gentle tugging began above her, becoming rougher as the tangled lines refused to budge. She hurried, stopping only when the bag was bulging and could hold no more, then swimming backwards. Bad manners or not, whatevs, who cares? Because she was jammed headfirst in a corner, she exited the field of fish hooks with not a moment to spare. As one tremendous yank saw lines and hooks snap and fling in all directions, Ringlet wasted no time, squashing Esky back down to the pannier and hoisting lumpy custard across her shoulder. She swam into the shadows of a large kelp forest a short distance away. No one to stare at us, and no currents, final or otherwise. You'll be safe. Almost as though he wasn't sure what food was anymore, Lumpy Custard began to nibble at the turnip. Ringlet swam back to the field of fish hooks. She had intended to tidy up the mess she had left, but to her surprise, she saw the entire field. Wooden hull and dangling fish hooks, all neatly reorganized, drifting away. As she gazed, the mousefish popped up from the booth.
Clever trick, that swimming backwards thing you did.
She squeaked, waving a clipboard.
You would have been a goner without it. Everyone else was. You're talented. You should come again.
I don't think so, called Ringlet as the mousefish faded from view. It's not the sort of game you play twice. Ringlet returned to the kelp forest to find Lumpy Custard chewing on the last turnip. No more excuses from you, Lumpy. We'll get back to the finish line, grab a chignon, and then we'll all go back to the kelplands. Ringlet climbed back on the sea goat, hoping that the mousefish's confidence in the metabolic benefits of a turnip feast would be rewarded. It was. As she patted him on the back of his neck, he stretched out his tail, lifted his head, and swam confidently out. Ringlet looked back. Was it her imagination, or had the forest drooped, as if it was somehow weary of standing up? Stilly ponds and stilly forests. It was getting dark. Ringlet shivered. Mermaids were never out after sunset. She didn't need to recover her memory to know that. The fearsome lurks, with their stalky, pustulated eyes, were known to hide in sandy-bottomed inlets, and snare mermaids who had foolishly lost track of time. She wished Lumpy Custard would gallop. At least he was moving, and maybe it was wishful thinking, but she felt that the sea goat's webbed feet, ass in front, had grown longer and thicker, and his tail, which pounded the waves behind them, was stronger and more muscular. And so they travelled. Ringlet, with her arms around the goat's neck, allowed herself to be comforted by the rhythmic tail, and Isky, hidden deep down in the pouch, slipped.
The oceans may have paused, but our adventure is far from over. Join Libby next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. as we continue exploring Ringlet and the Day the Ocean Stopped, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press. Keep your curiosity alive and your hearts open, because the magic, mystery and wonder of the sea are waiting for us in the next chapter on Spin Me a Tale.